I want boobs amount of money, please.
Hello, fellow netizens, and welcome to Scandalous Games, the show where we take a closer look at video game-related controversies. I'm Kevin Impellizeri, and I do the research and share a story of a video game-related controversy to my friends.
I'm Kate. I've been writing software for over 10 years, but not the fun kind.
I wanted to do a special, almost like, not emergency episode, but like, a special episode. This is a little bit different than what we usually do. It's a little bit more off the cuff. I don't have a detailed script on this, but the edits for one of the episodes that's coming up is going a little longer. And it is the weekend of the Oscars when we're recording this, and I thought that was a worthwhile opportunity to go back to an award show that we have talked about before, the Real Game Awards. Because, as I speculated about whether or not they were actually going to have an award show, they did. Mm-hmm. They actually did have another edition of this. And
it was just such a runaway hit last time. How could they not?
I know. You gotta, how else are we going to, know what games we're not supposed to play because they have, they might have a black or a trans person in it, It's important for us to keep track of these things for some people. So, for those of you who haven't listened to our 4-part series on the Real Game Awards, the Real Game Awards was a alternative award show. We'll start there. Calling it that. That was created by Craig Skistimis, a.k.a. Stuttering Craig, who was one of the founders of Screw Attack, who has, in more recent years, pivoted into a right-wing, anti-woke political commentator. And let's not beat around the bush around this. And he marketed this award show last year called the Real Game Awards, which he created as an alternative to Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, saying that his version was more, by gamers for gamers, suggesting that it was going to be more to the roots of gaming and to the actual fans than this out-of-touch corporate award show. And what that basically meant was Craig encouraged people to pay him money to develop categories, to nominate candidates, to vote on them, and even to either attend his award show, which we'll talk about today, about attending an award show, or just to give him money. With price points ranging from $5 a month to $1,337 a year for those elite supporters, those elite supporters.
Yeah, not what is it? $80,085 or something. I'm trying to spell boobs.
Yeah, the boobs category, which will be, if you'd like to give us money, I would love it if you give us $8,085.
I want boobs amount of money, please.
Yeah, boobs amount of money, whatever that is.
Yes. Put it into Venmo, hit send. We're good.
If it's more than you think it is, put more in there. So they claimed that they were going to do a second version of this. We talked about this at the end of our episode, that they were soliciting nominations, they were soliciting categories, and doing voting. I still remained pretty skeptical that they were going to go through with this. And largely because, and I mentioned this in the previous episode, there was very, very little fanfare. They did eventually set a date, February the 23rd, 2026, and I was kind of keeping an eye on it periodically. And I noticed that the Real Game Awards social media presence, particularly on X, on Twitter, was pretty quiet. Their website was not really updated at all, so it was like very little fanfare setting up. I noticed that the date came, February 23rd, 2026, and I saw no reports on their website. So, they must have just finally done what I thought Craig was going to do, and he just took the money and fucked off, and did not make this. However, doing a little bit more digging, I found out that they actually did it. They did hold the event on the 23rd. They held it at the prestigious Dave & Buster's just off Highway 75 in Dallas, Texas. People could attend. Of course, they had to pay for it. And if you're curious how much it costs to go to this Dave & Buster's, it was $150 to attend this event, which apparently, according to the website...
Did that at least get you a drink ticket or anything?
I'm glad you asked. According to the website, snacks were provided, but the only drinks that were provided were soft drinks and water, according to their website.
What kind of snacks?
I don't know what kind of snacks. And you could get alcohol because it is a Dave & Buster's, but you have to pay that for yourself.
Yeah, you pay it for yourself.
You also, of course, had to, on top of that, if you decided to come in and you're not in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you had to pay for your own accommodations. There was a question.
There was no way for them to, you got in the door for $150, and...
Yeah.
some sort of dubious snacks and water and soda. Right?
You know how many times you could go to the movies for $150? I know movie ticket prices are going up, but like that's a lot you could do for $150.
Do you know how many Dave & Buster's tickets you could buy for $150? I don't, but I assume it's a lot.
Yeah, I know their price. You could have a good time on $150 at Dave & Buster's for an evening.
Yeah, you could play one of those big giant spinning wheel games.
Yeah, so this show did happen. There was talk on the website about it being live streamed as well, and apparently that was not the case. They did not live stream it. Instead, they released it on the Side Scrollers YouTube. Side Scrollers is Craig Skistimis' podcast. They released the video to the non-paying public, to the rest of us, on March the 4th, 2026. So, I watched this thing so you all don't have to, and I thought that we would just kind of look at a little bit about the show, run down some of the stuff that happened there. Again, this is mostly, I don't really have a formalized script on this. We're going to kind of just go through point by point and riff on things. And if I see some notable things, then I'm going to point them out. The first thing that I wanted to note about this is the show itself is about 36 minutes long. Not very, very long for $150 to go there. The other thing is that, so imagine you hear this event is presenting, we're presenting this event live, we're at this Dave & Buster's on Highway 75. What do you think the expectation is for the experience of you being there?
As an attendee?
As an attendee.
Well, you said it was going to be live, right?
This is when they're showing the awards, yes.
Well, I would assume the awards would be happening live in front of me, like there'd be presenters presenting awards. Maybe the people who are getting them, I mean, obviously are not going to be there, but like they'll have a big screen somewhere and we'll have our sumptuous spread of snacks and yeah, it'll all be happening in real time.
And do you feel like the awards, like the actual awards presentations, are they going to be held in person? Do you assume
Well, yeah, that's what I just said. Like the person's going to be like on a stage or something with an award. Again, many of the recipients, I think it's like the 420 awards, like they're not going to be there. They don't necessarily care or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you're going to see human beings there whose job it is to run an awards show.
What if I told you that the award show, what got you that $150? Now, it seemed like, based on the stuff on the website, the way Craig would talk about it leading up to the previous award show, was that it would be an in-person thing. There would be presenters like an award show, like the Oscars would be. You have the people physically there to present. But Craig, is an alternative award show. He's thinking outside the box here. And what $150 got you at that I-75 Dave & Buster's in Dallas was you sat there, you had your snacks and soft drinks provided, and you watched a YouTube video. And so I have an image here that I'm going to show you of what it looked like at the Real Game Awards. And this was not put on the Real Game Awards official socials. This was on Stuttering Craig's officials. Posted on February 23rd, 2026. And I'm going to put my screen in front of you, Kate, and you tell me what you see going on here.
Oh, a bunch of people who realize they've been sitting around in a semicircle of chairs. Oh, I can see the food. Hang on. That looks like nachos, maybe. I'm assuming they bought their own nachos. And yeah, there's a projector screen with some anime character on it. This isn't just like we're playing a clip from something, right? Like there's not a person.
So yeah, one would interpret this as maybe they've been had. Because yes, what you're seeing here, again to describe it, I'll include a link in the description, it is basically people gathered around. I counted. I'd say there's about 19 people that I can see. Let's assume that Craig is taking the photo, so there's 20 people in this room. Looks like a kind of standard event space. And we have projected on a large projector screen. This is a VTuber by the name of Leaflet, who is presenting the award for Best RPG.
And I mean, granted, I'm seeing the back of a lot of people's heads here, but posture-wise, they all look thrilled, honestly. You said it was $150?
$150 a person to attend here.
They don't even... Let me look at this again. Oh, this is sad. I'm sorry. I'd be upset if I were them.
It doesn't look great, and it honestly looks like a bunch of middle-aged people who are gathered around in an event space.
I see 2 round tables with maybe like 3 or 4 chairs at each of the tables. So I'm guessing, you're probably seated with strangers.
Yeah, intimate settings. Everyone's gonna be friends at this.
Social anxiety through the roof.
Real meeting of the minds here. But so yeah, basically what these people ended up paying $150 for was to watch a series of pre-recorded presentations that were stitched together. This was literally the presentation the way it was for the Real Game Awards the first time they did this in January of 2025. Is that basically Craig pre-recorded everything. He pre-recorded all of his intros from his studio. and they cut it together with other content creators who presented the awards. You literally paid $150 for the premiere of a YouTube video. This also was not even live streamed. It was, again, eventually dropped a week later, a little more than a week later, on the 4th of March. So, like, I can imagine feeling like I had been had, like I'd been taken advantage of by Craig. Now, I spent $150 to come to what had to be a noisy Dave & Buster's and literally just watch a YouTube video that would have been up for free a week later. So that's where we're starting with this. And the fact that they gave this no fanfare, I did eventually, when I noticed that Stuttering Craig had put this up on he put it on the Side Scrollers podcast, like right when it launched. A couple of the other presenters did too. But like there was no fanfare to set up for this. There was no lead up to this. So it almost felt like they presented this and they kind of like hoped that people would pretend it didn't happen.
It's the equivalent of dumping something on streaming because like we made this, we have to release it now. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Also, I'm curious. It's interesting to me that this came off of his social media. So he presumably took this picture. He willingly posted it. Right?
Yeah, I assume so.
Just this looks like some what is it, DashCon type, like you know what I mean? Where it's like others were taking photos of DashCon and putting it online. Like, can you believe this shit? Look at what we're paying for here. That's more what this looks like to me.
Yeah, and going along with that it feels like they just kind of like tried to like put this out and hope people forget about this. This had nowhere near the kind of impact online that the first one did. I think I estimated the view count for the original live stream of the Real Game Awards back in January 2025 was about 71,000, I think, 71,000 views. This time around, the YouTube video, as of the day we're recording, and we're recording on the 14th of March, the YouTube video attracted around 11,000 views and 1,500 likes as of the recording. That's nothing in YouTube terms. Like, this had no impact at all. It had about 7,100 views on Twitter. So what we're looking at is, like, these are the fractions of the engagement that it got last year. And as we'll talk about near the end of this, when we talk about the reception of it, the reception is also a lot more mixed from the people who would have be interested in this. A lot more calls saying that this looks like it might have been a scam, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, not very, very much hype for this thing. Again, it's barely 38 minutes. The whole video is 37 minutes, 54 seconds. So you paid $150 to watch a 37-minute, 54 seconds compilation of pre-recorded videos. So if I was someone who aligned with Stuttering Craig, who paid him money for this, I feel like I'd be kind of pissed off about that. So yeah, that's what we're starting out with.
Yeah, my guess is that he does not have the cult of personality he thinks he does to get away with this.
Yeah, especially this time around. The other thing that people noted about this is that it is significantly cheaper. If I were to guess, that, you know, he pulled one over on people last year and he has a lot fewer people to draw from in terms of money. I mean, the other thing, he might have blown all the budget on the Dave & Buster's. Where's the money?
That's what
left?
I'm really thinking, and I know I keep harping on this next, but like, as ticked as I would be if I got like, you know, a lovely plate of chicken tenders and some macaroni and cheese, maybe some mini crab cakes, I could perhaps look the other way on this. You know, it's like, fine, this was, I paid $150 for a delicious Dave & Buster's meal. Like, I spec'd out years ago for a company party somewhere, a Dave & Buster's, you know, for the party. So we looked at the catering menus. They even gave us some tasting samples. They're a lovely venue, very courteous, and let me tell you, you can eat good there. So that's why I keep harping on the food. My sense is that they got popcorn and pretzels, but I don't know for sure, and evidently we don't either.
Yeah, just based on the photo, that's the only one.
I think I saw nachos, but I didn't really look that hard.
It looks, I see like little like generic bar appetizers. I think one person's, yeah, they're maybe like, I don't know, jalapeno poppers or something like that. I don't know, but it doesn't look like it's a very high class affair. If I were to speculate, as someone who's, you know, we've both done event planning, I wonder if Craig blew the budget on the venue, because so much of the rest of the Real Game Awards edition this year, even people who support these things thought it looked cheap. It looked like it was scaled back a lot. It looked like there were corners that were cut. So, for example, actually a really great place to start with is the intro. Right. So last year they created a animated. Who was the creator of Ren and Stimpy?
Oh, I don't know. Hang on, I'll find it. Hang on. That guy.
John K, I think he goes by. Yeah.
But yeah, John K.
So last year's, it looked like it was professionally done. It was in the style of John Crispolucci's animation style, like Ren and Stimpy, complete with a very racist caricature of
remember that? Yep.
Of Hideo Kojima.
That was awful.
This time around, they realized, you know what we don't have money for is to make something. You know what we do have money for?
Being racist.
Well, yeah. Well, they do that for free.
Oh yeah.
AI. The opening sequence is about 3 minutes. And it is 100% AI. Apparently, according to the credits, that person Leaflet, the one who was on the screen, made this. I looked into Leaflet's social media. We're not going to go into much detail with her. One thing she really likes, aside from, a lot of anti-woke shit posting and stuff and complaining about trans people, is she's big into AI. And so she made, I'm using huge air quotes, made this opening sequence for the Real Game Awards. It's in the style of an anime, and it's very much like the opening sequence of an anime TV show, like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure might be a good example of that. So I'm going to show this to you, and then we'll talk about it.
This is all AI.
This is all AI. So we've seen this opening sequence. What do you think, Gabe?
I think it killed a rainforest to get produced. That's what I think.
How much water do we not have anymore? I would use this as like it's a prototypical example of things to look out for with AI, because this is 100% an AI-generated intro sequence.
I mean, there's the obvious stuff like with the hands, right? And I think I saw there was on that subway thing, there was like somebody kind of phasing through the wall. Like they were sitting in a chair that would, like in a seat rather, that was kind of like phasing out through the wall.
Yeah, and that one in particular, you can see that there's he's supposed to be in a subway. The person in the subway playing a game.
So the wall is like see-through.
And the wall is like blending into another subway train behind it.
Yeah,
so it's like it has no wall.
And there was a person like sitting against the door sort of thing. And then there was one thing where there were the kids playing video games pretty early on, and one of them is holding their NES controller backwards.
Yes, there's a couple of those early on. There are a couple of kids playing, and the screen is backwards. The buttons are facing out to the person when they shouldn't be facing to them. There's one in particular I wanted to point out. So early on, the main character who is narrating the complaints about microtransactions and stuff, he at one point puts his fingers together, and if you look real carefully, I have a screen.
He's got like 17 fingers.
He's got way too many fingers, and they're like folding into each other. And there was another example of that, which is even more egregious of that. So this one here, this is what I wanted to show you. And so there's a sequence with Annie, who is basically Grok AI's physical representation, who you could pay extra and flirt with, because Elon needed that to be in his platform. So we can see here a number of people holding controllers and keyboards, and they're like, the keyboard is like all warped, the keys are mixing together. People are holding controllers. They have the wrong numbers of fingers, so like there's one over here where he's got like 7 fingers holding a mouse.
Next to him you can see he's got 4 fingers, but his hand isn't done. Like he clearly has. You see what I mean? He's got like 4 fingers, but like his hand's blocked. Like it looks like he probably has more fingers than that.
Yeah, the proportions of the hand are all wrong. You can see next to where the skin tones are blending, so you can see the light, the more olive skin.
So it's AI, it's garbage, and you can easily tell that it's AI garbage.
Yeah, it's blatantly, and there was one last one I wanted to show because I thought it was very funny. This one. Look at these two. So we have one hand holding a mouse, and we have one hand holding a controller, and the one has like 3 fingers, and the other appears to have 4 fingers.
Oh, I see.
You see them?
Oh, yeah.
So it's garbage.
Yeah.
It's absolute AI slop. I could go further into the ways that it is easy examples of the things that AI can't do well. It can't do hands. It can't do fingers. It can't do teeth. There's some shots here where like the teeth are like fusing together and things like that. So it's garbage. It's real bad. The other thing I wanted to pull out was not just that the actual presentation is bad, because it is. The messaging of this opening sequence is also pretty bad. So I wanted to briefly mention what the song lyrics are for this, and there's a couple things I wanted to point out. And I would bet you dollars to donuts that this was also AI generated too. But some things I know. So these are the lyrics in it. Gray skies on the way home from school, forced into things I never wanted. The place I escaped to was beyond the screen, clutching the controller, the pain fades away. Even when we grew up, some things never changed. The bonds with the friends I met here, it was our one and only. A small sanctuary we won't give to anyone. The strangers showed up out of nowhere, saying that's wrong, like they own us. Don't screw with us, denying everything we love. If you try to paint over who we are, we will fight. In the darkness, I reached out my hand, the warmth I felt, the proof of my bros. You're not alone anymore. Take back the voices drowned out before. This is our story forever. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to belabor this, but like, I could make the argument that there is a message behind this, and I could make the argument pretty easily that this is a fascist message. This is my undergraduate paper. I'm going to compare the opening of the Real Game Awards to Umberto Eco's 1995 essay, Fascism. But I'll give you the basic broad strokes here. We can see in this narrative. So the video is largely 3 kids playing video games growing up. They grow up with video games. Then the song turns to some kind of outside invader is coming. They're very nondescript about it in the videos. I think partly because AI is garbage. At one point, we get a black woman with I think a purple afro who looks like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure character, who I guess is presumably one of the things they're fighting, and a guy who is in a suit who has what appear to be spiders covered with gold coins around him.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what I was looking at there.
Which I guess the corporate moneyed interest in games, but who knows? And then the characters fight them, and then eventually at the end they stand on the top of a high skyscraper in an homage to the Mega Man 2 title sequence. Or like up there, they teleport up there, they're sitting up there. So we see here a couple things that are notable in fascism. I promise I'm going to say this briefly. We see an appeal to tradition, that growing up, games were ours, games were our sanctuary. Then we have the appeal to some sort of outside threat. Yeah. These enemies have come in, they are settling.
These interlopers are coming in and they're going to ruin the thing that we have known to be good for all this time.
Yes. They are trying to defy... We see the appeal to tradition, the defiance of tradition. We need to rally against these sort of degenerate invaders, basically saying these they don't say explicitly who they are in it, but we know who they're talking about. You know, game critics who don't like them, wokeness, all those things. The things that they talk about, go back to our previous episode about it. And then we see at the end, they've defeated them. They have restored traditional values. We see that they're celebrating games again. So that, I think, is like interesting because it's like the whole thing is almost like the thesis statement for the real Game Awards. So all that's to say, not great. Not very good. Even people who were supporting them in the comments section, comments on Twitter, pointed out that this was AI garbage and that they're cheaping out. They also cheaped out on the talent. Or it's one of two. I don't know if they paid anybody to do this. And in fact, I have arguments that can be made that people paid them to do it. But the talent is also, the people behind this is also a lot more scaled back. You're seeing a lot fewer big names, as it were, in the anti-woke gaming community. No Cabrutus, for example, the guy who did that DEI detected website who warned about, wokeness on different games. Yeah. A lot of the notable figures are gone. Only two people, aside from Stuttering Craig, returned. Those were Kirsche. And if you recall from what we talked about last time we did the Real Game Awards, Kirsche is a VTuber. So she presents as a anime fox girl.
Was she the one on the screen in the thing you showed me?
No. No, that was Leaflet, who was another VTuber who was the one who made the AI opening. Oh, okay. Kirsche she's often on the Side Scrollers podcast, which is Stuttering Craig's podcast, where basically they do political commentary. Her socials are just loaded with far-right talking points, lots of peons to Donald Trump, lots of railings against illegal immigrants and Democrats, and all the kinds of things you expect. And she has gotten into a bit of trouble in the past because some people who have, retweeted and shown... There's one guy who posted an image of a plushie that was made of her, and he flanked it next to a bunch of overt, out-and-out Nazi books. Mm. There's a lot of argument that Kirsche is either a Nazi herself or is just very, very well supported by people. Is
at the very least okay with this and overlooking it totally comfortably.
Yeah. So Kirsche's not great. She came back. Mm-hmm. She got to come back. She also won the award for Best Content Creator. So that's great for Kirsche. Yeah. She presented the award for Best Jiggle Physics, in case you're curious. We will talk about the Best Jiggle Physics Award. The coveted Jiggies.
I can't wait.
The other person who came back was Jeff Tarzia, a.k.a. Smash JT. Do you remember when we talked about Jeff Tarzia?
Remind me.
Jeff Tarzia, again, another one of these people who came up in the anti-woke circles. He puts out lots of YouTube videos about, complaining about things like DEI, companies like Sweet Baby Inc., which is a consultation company, which a lot of people in the anti-woke gaming sphere complain that are basically insinuously forcing, gay people, trans people, people of color into games. They don't. We did a whole episode on this during our Real Game Awards coverage. Smash GT comes back. Jeff presented for the biggest industry letdown, and with Kirsche was the only person who came back from the year before. He joked in his presentation speech, quote, "I'm honored to be back again for some reason." Well, I think I know...
I'm sorry. Was it, "I'm honored to be back again for some reason," or "I'm honored to be back again for some reason"? As in, like, for some reason I am back, or for some reason I'm honored?
For some reason they brought me back,
okay.
Kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think he's trying to present himself as being, self-deprecating.
Yeah.
But we know exactly why Jeff Tarzia came back. Yeah. Jeff Tarzia is what's known as elite supporter of the Real Game Awards, which again is that tier for people who pay $1,337 a year. Jeff has been on there for the last 2 years. So I would say the reason he's on there, he knows exactly why. It's because he paid Craig to be on there.
We were right, by the way. It was $80,085 if anybody wants to donate to the boobs tier.
I appreciate that we went back to that. All right, that will be the minimum tier to
Yeah.
donate to the real.
But it's okay. We'll send you some. We'll send you some free snacks.
Yes.
Good ones.
Yeah. Just send us your personal information, and we'll do something.
Don't do
that.
that.
The rest of it's all new people, and I started looking into some of them, and it's kind of not worth it. They're all very small creators.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to platform them.
I don't want to platform any of them. They're all basically what I said about the ones last year. They're basically they've set their whole sights on complaining about supposed intrusions into video games, forced diversity, DEI. Like, this is just what they do. It's just a bunch of smaller versions of that from last year.
It sounds like these people are looking for a community, and they see this community, and have done nothing to make themselves notorietous within it before getting there, if that makes sense, and instead are trying to, trying to audition their way into this really gross group of people.
I would say that's accurate. I think that it's a lot of people, if I were to speculate, again, a lot of small creators. Eventually my eyes glazed over with all the stuff I was seeing, but they are mostly, again, very small content creators. Some of them have only 10,000 followers or something like that. Some have 100,000 followers, but I think some of them it might be an opportunity. Well, this is my chance to get more exposure to an audience that they're
Or to any exposure.
Yeah, but also they're doing it to.
They want money, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want that? Who wants to? They probably want to. I'm assuming they have streaming channels and They want to be able to drive traffic to their channels in order to drive engagement, in order to become a lucrative personality on the internet, in order to become an influencer full time.
Yeah, and I would argue with this group, there's a built-in audience of people. So again, most of them are set themselves up as quote unquote current affairs commentators through the lens of video games, and that's something that's gathering all of these people together through the Real Game Awards. So it's if I have this kind of audience, and I know that other people might be interested in this too, it's kind of like cross-advertising. You might be subscribed to X content creator, but not Y. Now you're seeing both of them kind of thing. I think that's probably what I would see from this as a benefit for them. Now, again, I don't know how they got on this, if they paid Craig to do it, if Craig reached out to them, whatever. But we have, again, it's sort of a lower bill of people. And probably the biggest name that's associated with this, and we talked about last year how they got John St. John, who was the voice of Duke Nukem, who was the MC. They didn't get John St. John back again. So Duke Nukem had to respectfully decline this year. Sorry, I have other plans.
Duke's busy.
And the other big name was James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd. The closest they got this time was a guy named Marty O'Donnell. I don't know if are familiar with Marty O'Donnell.
No.
So Marty O'Donnell is actually a pretty notable name in gaming. He's a notable video game composer. He composed the score for Halo.
Oh, okay.
So that's him. Marty O'Donnell composed the score for Halo.
One of the most iconic video game scores of all time, one might argue.
Yes, I think that's a fair thing, because one of the awards that was presented was the best Xbox 360 game ever, which they put it out there because 2025 was the 20th anniversary of the release of Xbox 360. So they had this category. Ultimately, Halo 3 wins. And so Halo 3 wins. Let's talk to the guy who made the score for that game. So they have Marty O'Donnell, and a couple of things to know about Marty O'Donnell. He thanks people on behalf of Bungie when he worked there. He thanked Craig's customers, because, they pay Craig to vote, for voting Halo, quote, on behalf of everyone at Bungie from nearly 20 years ago, end quote.
Right.
So Marty doesn't work at Bungie anymore. Bungie was the makers of Halo. That's because they can't him.
Right.
Now, his firing is not as salacious as you might think it is. I read a bit about this because Marty O'Donnell was fired from Bungie in 2014. He sued the company for wrongful termination. He eventually got a settlement. I believe he won a suit against the CEO of Bungie. And then he got a settlement from Bungie itself. One was for unpaid benefits, and the other was for back stock that he lost, because they tried to fire him with cause he lost his stock benefits. Right. So he sued to get it back. He got him back. So I did some digging about why they fired him. So it's actually just a bunch of corporate shenanigans. So they were working on a game called Destiny. Destiny's still technically around. It was Bungie's they tried to make it kind of like a forever game, a looter shooter that people would be playing for a decade. And he composed the score for Destiny. Activision, which at that point was overseeing Bungie, they basically said they wanted to have a new team working on the score. And they did that score over his score. And he got really upset about this. He started basically complaining internally and publicly about this. And this eventually came to the head to the point that they fired him. So I'm not going to get any more into that, but There's probably another reason why O'Donnell comes in particular, and it's because, this should not shock you, he also likes talking about right-wing talking points online.
I feel like that's a prerequisite to be a part of this awards show.
It would have to be. So he, for example, in a 2025 interview, he warned of the, quote, wokeification of the games industry, end quote. And he accused companies of engaging in hiring quotas where they brought in minority people who never played or liked video games into prominent roles. He's like one of those people. And he's like, he would be the kind of person who asks a person of color, so you were here because of affirmative action or something like that. That's the kind of guy he is. He also staged a failed congressional run back in 2024, running for Nevada's 3rd district. He lost in the primaries, and he's running again as a MAGA Republican. So yeah, that's going on right now. For Nevada voters, the primary is in June, so if you want to check into that. And when he's not doing that, he's basically railing on social media. He has kind of like 2 things he talks about on social media. One, I'm the guy who made the Halo score, and the other is basically any right-wing talking points that are in the news, especially immigration and how much he hates Democrats. So that's where we are right now in terms of that. Those are the big gets. So, again, we've got scaled back talent, scaled back production. Why don't we do what everybody comes to see for these awards there? And we'll talk about some of the winners.
Nice.
We'll run through these pretty quickly. There's no reason to linger on a lot of these. I'll run through the categories. There's one in particular I'm going to say to the very, very end because I think it's actually interesting compared to all of them. There were 20 categories that people paid for. That people paid Stuttering Craig to create, and then, of course, paid to nominate and paid to vote for.
Right.
So this is again, basically when we boil it down to this award show is basically an online poll that people monetized.
Right.
And basically what the award show is revealing what the vote totals were and what the percentages were. So we'll just kind of run through the categories. There's 20 categories. We won't devote a lot of attention to any of them. And I'll just point out some notable things as we go. So the first one, this is one we are going to talk about, which is notable. The first award was Best Gaming Mod. So there were 2 nominees, and I won't give this amount of attention for all the categories, but this one is particularly interesting. There were 2 nominees for the mods. They were the Zero Suit Samus mod in Real Game Awards' favorite, Stellar Blade. So it basically puts Eve in the Zero Suit that Samus has used. And there's another notable thing. They made her tits gigantic.
Well, yeah. While we're in there,
So I'll show you a screenshot of this Stellar Blade mod.
Wow.
It was developed by a user called m.tsqn. It was released on Patreon on June 11th, 2025, and there it is. So we have... what would you describe?
I don't know. Look like a couple of truck nuts hanging off her neck.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like comical. It's like, is this supposed to be a joke? Is it supposed to be funny?
Yeah, it is.
No, seriously, was it supposed to be comical?
I don't think
like,
so.
You like big boobs? Here you go.
It is. You know what it is? It's like that, there's that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where the guys think that they can be fashion designers.
Yes.
And was it Mac creates one? It's either Mac or Dennis creates one where it's just basically giant boobs and a giant ass. And so, yeah, it's basically, imagine Eve from Stellar Blade in Samus' Zero Suit from Metroid Zero Mission with just ginormous tits. There is even a part of the mod where parts of her clothing will tear off, and of course you can see those giant assets of hers.
Some gravity-defying strips of fabric.
So yeah, that's one of the competitors. The other competitor is one called Natural Bodies of Oblivion, which is a mod for the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake, developed by a user called Kraus, which was posted to Nexus Mods, which is a very popular site to download mods, on May the 11th, 2025. So we saw with the Stellar Blade ones, it's basically, so Natural Bodies of Oblivion is basically a mod that allows you to manipulate the proportions of the female characters in Oblivion, which everybody did to give them huge tits and a giant ass. So that's where we're at right now. Yeah, and you can also apparently set the jiggle physics too. So just imagine just giant tits, because everybody who is involved with this show is clearly 12 years old.
So just go jerk off.
Seriously.
Go jerk off already. Do you want to play Oblivion, or do you want to go jerk off?
So
maybe go jerk off, then play Oblivion.
I'm not going to make you guess all of them, but you have these 2. We have a coin flip here. Who do you think wins? Is it the Stellar Blade boobs or the Oblivion boobs?
Stellar Blade.
It was the Oblivion boobs. Natural Bodies of Oblivion won by...
Well, I guess you have a little more, customizability there. So.
By 57% of the votes.
By practically a landslide.
A rare loss for Eve, who, cleaned up at the Real Game Awards. I won't do all of them in that detail, but I thought that was worthwhile because, again, it sees where we are in terms of their headspace. All right, so next
I'm sorry. This is just this whole thing is stupid.
It's kind of pathetic, as I would say.
Stupid.
Kind of sad.
This is how you're spending a Saturday?
Yeah. What you went to a Dave and Buster's.
At this point, I would have left and I'd be out there playing Fruit Ninja like that.
It's a sunk cost fallacy. You spent $150 to watch this.
I would have had as much sody pap as I could drink, as many of the little nachos or jalapeno poppers or whatever as they would let me have, and then I would be out there. I would be racking up some tickets so that I could go home with a cute stuffy, and that would be how I tell you I spent my day rather than this.
So we'll go through some of the other awards here. So next there was Best RPG, which the nominees were Octopath Traveler 0, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon, and Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with these. I will say that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was a critical darling last year, was kind of one of the breakout hits of 2025, and it won by a 72% margin Best RPG.
But Tainted Grail has the word taint in it, and that's kind of funny. So
it does.
Should've.
I don't know what the boob size mods are for that, though, so that might be maybe a mitigating factor. I also don't know what the jiggle physics are like in Clair Obscur either. If people know, scandalousgamespodcast@gmail.com. So yeah, and in fact, when Clair Obscur was announced to have won this, Craig then jumped in and said, so it's made by a French company, he yells, "Those Frenchies freaking dominated," he said.
Charming.
Declaring it was the developers Sandfall Interactive. So Sandfall Interactive made Clair Obscur. Because apparently Clair Obscur carried a lot of categories, and he introduced an idea in this one that I wish the Oscars would do. At this point, he says, you know what, rather than waste everyone's time, here's all the things that it won. And just ran through them. It also won... So these are categories where they did not even bother listing nominees. He just said Clair Obscur won. It won Best RPG. It won Best In-Game Moment with 61% of the vote. He doesn't say what moment, though, which I would be curious to know. Best Indie Game, 58% of the vote. Best New IP, 78% of the vote. Best Action Adventure, 44% of the vote. And Best Value, 54% of the vote. So, like, imagine, you hear about the Oscar, occasionally something sweeps the Oscars, like Return of the King. Mm-hmm. Imagine when Return of the King swept the Oscars, whatever the first thing it won for, you just had, like, someone like, John Travolta says, okay, I'm not going to waste everyone's time. Here's all the places it won. Good night, everybody.
Yes.
And that's basically what happened here. They literally just speed run 5 additional categories.
America. Yeah.
They speed run 5 additional categories so you don't have to waste your time. Again, this was 37 minutes, this show. And I almost want to speculate and say he had no anti-woke grifters who would pay him to read those categories. Well, I'll just read them all myself. It's all Clair Obscur anyway. So yeah. So we have Best Hidden Gem, which was Guns of Fury, Shinobi the Art of Vengeance, Split Fiction, and Megabonk. Megabonk won with 42% of the vote. Megabonk is Vampire Survivors?
No.
So there's a genre now called Survivor's Life. Vampire Survivors was a game that came out in 2022. It's basically like it was an 8-bit style game where you're basically fighting against an infinite horde of enemies.
Yeah. And
you can collect power-ups. It's like a roguelike. Like Risk of Rain is like it too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's like that. It inspired a whole genre. It became very popular. A lot of the characteristics are like roguelike features, random item drops that can improve your run. And a couple of other games have played with this, and Megabonk was one of them. It was put together by a user that just goes by Vedinad. Okay. We don't know who Vedinad is.
Okay, but they won this award. They've been honored and showed up in person to
you would think so.
Come get it.
So Vedinad's interesting. He put out dev diary videos in 2025 about him making this game. And basically it's like, I want to make Vampire Survivors, but I want to make it a 3D game.
Right.
And it's like he walked through how he did that. It's kind of cool watching him do this. And it did get a lot of critical praise. We don't know who Vedinad is. He, for example, was up for, in the Game Awards, in the actual Jeff Keighley Game Awards, was up for Best Debut Game. Mm-hmm. And he actually responded to them and said, actually, I need to withdraw from this because this is not the first game I've ever put out. I didn't think it was very fair. And they respected that. They pulled him from it. And said, it's like I could get this Best Debut Game, but this is not my first game.
Did he say what the first game was that he
No,
made?
because he so far has been anonymous. We don't know who he is.
So he did put out at least one other game under a different name.
Yeah, so there's a lot of speculation about who Vedinad is. So interesting.
You said it's an 8-bit game? Or 16-bit?
It's like the style is, it's a 32-bit, like a PS1 era game, visually.
Okay.
So yeah, that's Megabonk. Then we have Best Retro Inspired Game. The nominees were Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, Marvel Cosmic Invasion, Shinobi the Art of Vengeance, and Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Okay.
Hollow Knight Silksong, very anticipated game. It won with 48% of the vote. I wonder what that means for Craig. At one point put an episode of the Side Scrollers in which he declared that he warned everyone that Hollow Knight Silksong is transcoded. So I guess he's come around to it now.
Yeah.
It's not as transcoded as he thought it was when he mined it for content last time. But I got 48% of the vote. I mentioned Best Content Creator, Kirsha, wins with 44% of the vote. And so the other nominees were Legendary Drops, don't know who that is, won 10% of the vote. Asmongold, we've talked about, 26% of the vote. Mr. Gross Bridge Troll, who puts out right-wing things, who fought with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Check out that episode soon. And the only thing I'll point out with this one is the other last nominee. This year's version of the Real Game Awards is a lot more reserved in terms of its overt political messaging. With some exceptions. I mentioned that intro video and how I think you can make an argument that it is making a fascist argument. But for the most part, the speeches and things tend to focus on, we love games. Games are fun. We all enjoy games. That's why we're here. Let's celebrate games. This is one of those exceptions where you see what the real audience is for the Real Game Awards, because the fourth nominee for Best Content Creator was Kaya. Kaya's a dog that belongs to the left-wing Twitch streamer Hassan Piker. Do you know who Hassan Piker is?
No.
So basically, I don't watch Hassan Piker.
Right.
I hear about him occasionally.
You said he's left wing?
Yeah, he basically is a left-wing Twitch streamer who talks about, like, current events.
Right.
And there are a bunch of people in these right-wing griftospheres for which Hassan Piker just, like, lives rent-free in their heads. Mm. And they basically created a controversy around Hassan Piker involving his dog Kaya last year. So on October the 7th, 2025, during one of his streams on Twitch, Kaya's in the background. He's got like a treadmill in the back, and Kaya's standing on it, and Kaya won't settle. We have a dog, when she won't settle. And he basically says, Kaya, settle, something like that. Kaya yelps and jumps up. And people then made the argument online that Hassan Piker used the shock collar and shocked Kaya.
No, that's awful.
There's no evidence that this actually happened.
Oh.
They noted a collar that was around Kaya's neck, which he later showed on a video. He took the collar off.
It's not a shock
It's
collar?
A vibration collar. Like, it doesn't shock them. It just, like, directs them.
Is she a little dog?
It's like a chow.
Okay.
Like a chow.
Roughly how big?
About yay big.
Okay.
But
and she jumped and yelped when he
yelped.
Kaya settled?
Yeah. And so people are trying to argue that he shocked her and he's abused, and then that snowballs into right-wing people. Like,
so I'm sorry,
abuses dogs.
I misinterpreted what you had said when I was like, oh no, but I thought you said like it was revealed that he was using a shock collar. It was speculated. I will say, if that's what they're going on, I mean, dogs will sometimes bark in response when you issue a command they don't agree with.
Yeah, if you catch them by surprise, he said like,
or depending on their attitude, they might be like, no, I won't settle.
Yeah,
like,
she caught on something. I'll show you the video here,
okay.
so you can see what it looks like. So this is Hassan Piker. There's Kaya in the background.
Kaya, please just fucking go. Just stop.
That's what they were claiming was him shocking her?
Yes. So she barks and she sits.
He wasn't even done talking when she barked. Yeah, no, that's... No.
Kaya's not a chow, too.
Yeah, she looks like a Goldie.
Yeah, so I'll show her one more time. Because it's like I watched it a couple of times. Like, what are they looking at? So
they're just looking for something to be mad about.
Yeah. But yeah, so people see this video. They see Kaya yelp as she's sitting down. And a bunch of people who generally don't like Hassan Piker are saying, Hassan Piker abuses dogs. He abuses his dogs.
Why, because she yelped?
Because they're claiming that bark she made is because he administered a shock collar to her and shocked her to sit down. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, but it's just, she just barked and sat down when he told her to settle?
Yeah, it looks like she yelps when he yells, and then she sits down. I've never administered a shock collar because I don't intend to ever use one, but like, it doesn't look like there's that much there. But people made a lot of hay about this. And again, it gained a lot of attention in right-wing circles saying that Hassan Piker abuses dogs. It got so far up the right-wing chain that J.D. Vance joked about this on an episode of the New York Post podcast called Pod Force One on October the 29th, 2025. The interviewer made the joke about him, and they talk about, oh yeah, it's horrible him abusing dogs and stuff. So like J.D. Vance is broadcasting this too.
J.D. Vance stood up off the couch.
Yes, that attractive couch.
Put his dick away. Yeah, doesn't that not so good, is it, Mr. Vance, when somebody's, making rumors about you? Doesn't feel as good as the couch, does it?
That was my exact reaction. It's like, he of all people should know what it's like to be part of an unsubstantiated rumor campaign that becomes associated with you. Mm-hmm. But again, self-awareness and self-reflection is not something that J.D. Vance will do. But yeah, so that's what that's all about. So, if Kaya gets votes, 19% of the votes on Best Content Creator was for Hassan Piker's dog, which again is one of those things, it's like this is a signal to a specific in-group, like with Stellar Blade that we've talked about in the past, like Warhammer 40k. The key audience for this are these people in these hyper-politicized, right-wing, internet-pilled communities.
Right.
That's their signal here. See, I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
This is why we do this. All right, so yeah, Best Content Creator. Then, of course, we have the coveted award for Best Jiggle Physics. Mm-hmm. The Best Jiggle Physics Award has 3 nominees, but one thing that's really, really fascinating about it, most of the other awards are about the best thing from last year, from 2025. They made one exception to that, the Best Jiggle Physics Award. They decided that they were going to open it up to any game, not just games that came out in 2025, because as Kirsha, who presented, said, quote, because greatness doesn't expire, end quote. Now, knowing that, who do you think they gave the award to Best Jiggle Physics
Is this for like, in years past? Like, it could be anyone across time, or...
Any game that's come out, it doesn't have to come out in 2025.
Could it be from the past?
Yeah, it's from the
Okay,
past.
that's what I'm asking.
Yes.
I guess. Like from like the distant past?
Yeah, so it's...
It would have to be Lara Croft then, no?
Lara Croft is a good guess. The winner...
somebody from Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball?
That's a good guess, too. So Dead or Alive Extreme Venus Vacation did receive a nomination.
Yeah.
They did by game, too, not one person. The winner, with 70% of the vote, Stellar Blade. It won it again, 2 years in a row.
Oh, okay. The one that we just saw with the enormous boobs?
Yes.
But those boobs aren't the ones that won.
No. Eve won for...
The big ones this year didn't win. The ones from years past won.
Eve won for her naturals
that makes
again.
That makes a lot more sense why this one didn't. This mod didn't win. People felt betrayed. This is why mess with success. You know?
You've disgraced a national treasure.
You've defiled the fine art of jiggle physics.
You thought so much about whether you could do it, you didn't think about whether you should do it.
Yeah, I think next year that person should put a mod out where they just keep getting progressively bigger. You know?
So Eve from Stellar Blade, who won last year's, they just gave it to her again. So two time. Well, one for each. One for each, you know. So I'll run through some of these other ones. That was one of the notable ones I would talk about. Best shooting game. The nominees were Doom: The Dark Ages, Escape from Duckov, which I've never heard of this game.
What?
Escape from Duckov.
Never heard
I'm not looking into it. I've done too much of this already. No. Battlefield 6 and Arc Raiders. And Arc Raiders was kind of like one of the breakout shooters of this past year. It did get a bunch of critical praise. Arc Raiders won with 34% of the vote. Battlefield 6 got 28%. Doom: The Dark Ages got 21%. And Escape from Duckov got 17%. All right, so some of the other categories. We had Best Xbox 360 Game, which I mentioned before. Halo 3 won with 52% of the vote. The other nominees were Mass Effect 2 with 27% of the vote, Gears of War 14%, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 with 6%. Two things I noticed about this. If I were being pedantic about this, only 2 of those games were Xbox exclusives.
Yeah.
Gears of War and Halo. So we're saying best, I guess just the best game I ever played on my Xbox.
Yeah, I like that one very much.
And
again, it's the 420 awards.
Yeah. It's whatever they're just interested right now. And the other thing, someone pointed this out online, I didn't pay attention to. When they showed the votes, they showed the cover of each game. They showed the cover for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 for the 2022 remake, not the one that came out for the 360. And those are very distinctly different games. So, again, just kind of like slipshod in terms of this. They're just rushing this together. Other categories, we have Best Game That Won't Die, which basically apparently was like old games that have really active community still. Right. The nominees were Fortnite, No Man's Sky, and The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Skyrim won with 51% of the vote. Best Multiplayer Game nominees were Kirby Air Riders, Marvel Rivals, Battlefield 6, Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders won with 37% of the vote. I'm not going to go into all the vote breakdowns for everybody.
That's all right.
Best Console Exclusive, we get next. We've got Ghost of Yotai, which is a PS5 exclusive, and the other 3 are all Switch 2 exclusives. So no representation from the Xbox Series S or X, mostly because they're not really doing a lot of exclusives anymore. But 3 of them are Switch games. Those are Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Mario Kart World. And Donkey Kong Bonanza wins with 47% of the vote. So not a lot of love for Xbox here. Though Craig did make a joke about there being no Xbox exclusives, but you think his customers would give more love for PlayStation, but what do I know? Biggest letdown, I mentioned the Smash JT came back for some reason to present. The biggest letdown were Silent Hill F, Pokemon Legends ZA, Assassin's Creed Shadows. We'll get to Assassin's Creed Shadows in a little bit. And Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So somehow the fact that it got a nomination for Best Console Exclusive did not preclude it from also getting Biggest Letdown, which it won with 35% of the vote. So there was a reality where it could have won Best Console Exclusive and been the biggest letdown.
Sounds about right. It's like winning Best Picture and the Razzie for Best Picture.
Yeah, I guess so. And then there's the Game of the Year, one of the coveted awards. The other one we'll talk about in a second. Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Craig presents this one. Craig presents a lot of them, a lot of the awards.
Craig's not busy.
He's not busy.
Yeah.
And I guess that way, again, I don't know how the money happened, but I guess it's putting his face out there so people can see who they're giving their money to. Those people who spent $150 to go to that Dave & Buster's can again see him.
Start throwing jalapeno poppers at him. Boom!
Yeah. They could have actually thrown it to him because he did go to the awards too.
That's what I meant.
They could have thrown it right to him.
That's what I meant.
All right, Game of the Year. The nominees were Ninja Gaiden 4, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Arc Raiders, Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon, Hollow Knight Silk Song, Mega Bonk, which we talked about, and Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 cleaned up at the Real Game Awards. We've seen it win 6 categories. It wins a 7th one because it wins Game of the Year with 73% of the vote. It wasn't even close. The only one I'll point out for the other percentage is they include Mega Bonk in the votes. According to the screen that they show the vote percentages, Mega Bonk had 0% of the vote. Mm-hmm. So why did it even appear as one of the nominees at that point?
They don't want to have to edit.
Yes. And we can't outsource this to AI.
Editing's a pain in the neck, and I'm afraid that if I ask AI to do it, I don't know what it'll do.
Yeah. And this is where I'll mention, it gets Game of the Year, Clair Obscur. Again, Clair Obscur was like the big breakout game of last year.
Right.
It was also the darling of the Game Awards. The things they ostensibly say that this award show is in response to is a counterpoint for the real gamers because Jeff Keighley's Game Awards is so corporate and out of touch, they don't understand what real gamers want. Clair Obscur swept those too. It won Game of the Year in the Game Awards. It won Best Game Direction, it won Best Narrative, it won Best Score and Music, Best Independent Game, Best RPG, Best Debut Indie Game, and it won a Best Performance for actress Jennifer English. So it swept there too. So both of them are roughly the same.
Right.
And that is something that a bunch of critics of this pointed out. And again, at this point, critics are mostly people I think who believe in the awards show, who are now feeling a bit cheated. Some of them basically said, what's the difference between your awards now? And I don't have to pay for the Game Awards. Yeah. You basically gave the awards to the same games they did. Games like Ghost of Yotei and Clair Obscur and Mega Bonk were also well represented at those award shows too. So it's like what's the point if for no other reason than just to take my money, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And have me pay $150 to hang out at a Dave & Buster's with Stuttering Craig, you know? There's one award I didn't mention here, which we're going to talk about now, which was the other coveted Game of the Year award, Shitty-Ass Game of the Year.
Oh, okay. This
was last year, if you recall, was presented by James Rolfe as the angry video game nerd in character.
In character, yeah.
In which he gave it to a game called Dustborn. We're not going to talk about Dustborn today. So the nominees for Shitty-Ass Game of the Year were Ghost of Yotei, which somehow getting a nomination for Best Console Exclusive
I was going to say, wasn't
did not preclude it from getting Game of the Year. It was by their...
Shitty-Ass Game of the Year.
Yeah, for Shitty-Ass Game of the Year. Like, by their estimations, if we're to take those nominees, people thought that was the best PS5 game of last year. Or PS5 exclusive
Best of a bad lot, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
P.U.
Mind's Eye, the only thing you need to know about it is Mind's Eye, it was like the big rigs over-the-road racing or Ride to Hell Retribution of 2025 in that it was a game that was supposed to be just poor quality and actually broken. Extremely janky, did not function as a game. And a lot of people had fun making fun of Mind's Eye for how broken it was. Like, it was physically almost impossible to actually play this game. Call of Duty Black Ops 7. So we have Ghost of Yotei, Mind's Eye, Call of Duty Black Ops 7, and finally Assassin's Creed Shadows. Craig gave the award. I guess the nerd was busy that day.
Yeah, he's making another movie.
With 55% of the vote, Assassin's Creed Shadows wins Shitty-Ass Game of the Year. And again, one of those games was basically non-functional as a game, Mind's Eye, and Mind's Eye only got 18% of the vote as a result of that. And this is, again, like Hassan Piker's dog, another one is, let's break this down a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'll try to be relatively brief, but this one's actually the most interesting story of this. So, do you know anything about Assassin's Creed Shadows?
No.
All right. Are you familiar with the Assassin's Creed series?
Sure. There's just like a bunch of them. I don't know which one that is.
Yeah, there's a tons of them. Shadows was the newest one, so for those who aren't familiar, they're a long-running series by Ubisoft. You play as an assassin. The assassins are like a secret order, and they go against another secret order called the Knights Templar. The games take place during different time periods, different locales, everywhere from Crusades era Middle East to Renaissance era Italy to colonial America to revolutionary France. And so Assassin's Creed Shadows is the latest game in it. It came out on March the 20th, 2025. It was developed by Ubisoft Quebec and was published by Ubisoft for pretty much all the major platforms. And it was eventually later released for Switch 2 as well. The game takes place in 16th century feudal Japan, and near the end of the Sengoku period, where you can play as one of two characters. A female shinobi named Nawe, and Yaskue, a black African samurai who was, fun fact, based on a real person.
Huh.
There was a real Yaskue.
Nice.
Hold on to that for a second. So this gets the award for shitty ass game of the year.
Shitty poopy butt.
Shitty ass game of the year. Craig has a lengthy lecture about what he thinks is wrong with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Here's what he says. And this is what we're going to unpack for the rest of this part. Quote, "Now Shadows didn't just disappoint. It exposed a deeper rot that fans have been warning about for years. Ubisoft made a conscious decision to bring in outside consultants with a heavy ideological agenda."
God.
If you need your dog whistle, there it is. There's your dog whistle. And the result was a game that felt less like a creative vision and more like a lecture wrapped in a franchise's skin. Fans criticized the forced themes, tone-deaf messaging, and design choices that prioritize ideology over immersion, history, and fun. And sure, some will cope and insist, hey, it was actually a really great game. Fine. Now imagine how much better it would have sold and how much less damage it would have done if all that baggage wasn't just shoved right into it. Instead, Shadows became a breaking point, a public reminder of how far Ubisoft had drifted from the audience that made the franchise successful in the first place, end quote. So what do we think about that?
Doesn't surprise me.
What do you think their problem was with Assassin's Creed
there's
Shadows?
non-white people in it, and specifically there's a black person in it, and an Asian woman in it, and one of the main characters is black, one of the main characters is a woman, and neither of them are white.
Yeah, you're right. They had an issue with the protagonists.
Okay.
Most notably, one of them, Yaskue.
Yeah.
Yaskue, again, I will point out, is a real historical figure. So let's back up a little bit here. So the character of Yaskue, depicted in Assassin's Creed Shadows as a African samurai, was based on a real figure. This comes from a really interesting article by the Arizona Center for Medieval and Renaissance Studies at Arizona State University. The historical Yaskue arrived in Japan in 1579. He came with a group of Jesuits to Japan. He was apparently reportedly from Mozambique. And over some time in Japan, eventually got into the court of an influential warlord named Oda Nobunaga, acting as some kind of bodyguard, retainer, some influential figure among them. So he was a real figure. There was a book that came out in 2019 by an author named Thomas Lockley that was a history based on the real Yaskue that was called African Samurai. My understanding about the book is it kind of pulls together, there's not a lot of source material on Yaskue. There are evidence that he existed and was in the court of Nobunaga, but a lot of his escapades are not well documented. So apparently one of the criticisms of the book is it's more of a pop history and takes a lot of liberties about, oh, he might have done this might have happened, trying to flesh this out into a real narrative.
Right.
But we know that Yaskue was a real figure. And so Ubisoft revealed Yaskue and Nawe as the main characters for Assassin's Creed Shadows during a teaser trailer on May the 15th, 2024. And immediately, a bunch of these anti-woke observers and content creators all of a sudden just gained the transcendent knowledge of being Japanese history scholars.
Ah, yes. And they were like, he wasn't even real! He wasn't even real! Is that what they were doing?
No, their talking point was that he wasn't a real samurai. Therefore, this is inaccurate, and it's misinformation, and it is defying the tradition of historical accuracy
that the Assassin's Creed series is well known for.
Yeah, a game where you fight ancient orders for magical artifacts, and I'm pretty sure in one of the Assassin's Creed games, you fly around on a flying machine that Leonardo da Vinci made.
Yeah.
Yeah, historical realism.
Yeah, won't somebody think of the children who use this as school?
Yeah, so all of a sudden you see a bunch of people complaining, well, Yaskue shouldn't have done this. He's not a real samurai. It should have been a Japanese person, not this black guy. And then, of course, the really insensitive jokes about, making racist comments about a black person being a samurai and all that stuff. All of a sudden, for example, if you were to go to the Wikipedia page of the list of foreign-born samurai in Japan, people started going into the talk section very, very spirited debates about whether or not he was considered a quote-unquote real samurai.
Arguing in paragraphs in the comments.
Yes, absolutely they are. And it's by no coincidence is right after this trailer dropped. A bunch of them also started harassing that author Thomas Lockley to the point that he shut down his socials.
Mm-hmm. Okay, imagine this poor guy. He's like, come on.
Yeah, he didn't ask for this. And it all points to people being pissed off about a historical representation of him in a video game. Like, you're going to take creative license anyway. Mm-hmm. There's no, historical fiction that is 100% accurate anyway. They're going to take creative liberties, and it works for Yaskue because we don't know a lot about him.
If the Tom Cruise character from The Last Samurai was the main character instead of this guy, somehow I think everybody would have lived.
Yeah, and ultimately, it points to they don't care about historical accuracy. They're more pissed off, and they can't quite say it out loud. They're mad that a black person was in this game. That's what it really comes down to. They were mad about a black person in this game. And that becomes the discourse, and that becomes why this is why we see Craig lecturing about, forcing ideology and things like that.
Yeah.
It's dog whistles. It's all about, ultimately comes down to, they voted against the game because, and they don't even talk about the quality of the game. It's the fact that this trailer had a black character in it.
Right.
That's all it is. And they'll put out lots of videos about how much this game failed. Its critical score is pretty good. Even bad Assassin's Creed games are pretty good, I think. They're big, they're sweeping, they have incredible locales. Yeah. This game overall is pretty well received. It has right now an 81 out of 100 critical average on Metacritic, generally reviewed pretty positively. It also sold reasonably well. One of the other talking points that guys in this crowd like Craig will say, oh, it sold terribly. There was a quarterly earnings report that was published by Ubisoft on the 22nd of July that said of Assassin's Creed Shadows, quote, it performed in line with expectations, end quote. And they also boasted on the same day on their social media that it had over 5 million players. Mm-hmm. So it seems like it did what it was supposed to do for them. It was a reasonable success. It wasn't like destroying the company or anything. Right. And the other thing they'll point out is they'll try to argue that, Craig mentioned, a consulting firm came into it.
Right.
You want to know what their evidence is for that?
Sure.
So I looked into this. I even looked at DI Detected, that thing that Cabrutus made, and his only complaint on there, he of course gives it a level 3 wokeness on there, level 3 DEI level, but he only focuses on historical accuracy. So it's like, he doesn't mention a consultancy firm, so I looked into this. Right. There's a New York Times article about the backlash that came out on September the 11th, 2024. It's written by Zachary Small. And in it, he got a comment from a Japanese consultant and translator who works in the games industry named Kazuma Hashimoto.
Okay.
And Kazuma Hashimoto commented on his view of what this quote-unquote backlash looks like in Japan.
Right.
So this is what the article mentions in the New York Times of Kazuma Hashimoto. Quote, Kazuma Hashimoto, a Japanese consultant and translator in the video game industry, said the reception to Assassin's Creed Shadows was mostly positive in Japan. It was people in the West who were upset with seeing Yaskue as a samurai, he said, explaining that many of the negative online comments written in Japanese appear to be roughly translated from English. End quote. So it's a bunch of people...
Google Translate, help me!
Yeah, it's a bunch of people getting...
I must communicate my rage!
Yeah, it's a bunch of people getting really angry, posting angry posts, putting them in Google Translate, and then putting them on message boards. So a couple of these folks in these anti-woke circles, they look into Kazuma Hashimoto. And they looked at his LinkedIn profile. And Kazuma Hashimoto, between 2020 and 2023, he did freelance work for Sweet Baby Inc.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. The one that they claim is behind all of the, black and brown characters and trans characters in games. And so they try to claim that on these very flimsy evidence that Sweet Baby Inc. was involved in forcing Yaskue in the game as opposed to, a good, God-fearing Japanese man.
Yeah.
I noticed that they don't really have these kind of complaints about Naue. Mostly, if I were to guess based on their other output, it's easier for them to jerk off to her.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's what I would say. So yeah, it gets the shitty-ass game of the year.
You could jerk off to the other guy, too.
I suppose you could, but they're not into that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So
Certainly not, publicly.
this game that generally, the game is generally pretty well. Again, it's one of these kind of fake controversies. That's really the only thing they're upset about is
you're the only ones who are upset about this.
Yeah, nobody cares. Clearly, it didn't affect the player count.
Right.
It clearly didn't affect the sales numbers, and you clearly did not play this game at all.
Right.
And that's fine. Don't play it then if you don't want to play it.
Yeah.
But there are a bunch of people who turn that and they turn it into content because they know it'll get them ads and clicks. And people like Stuttering Craig will get people to pay him money so that they can nominate Assassin's Creed Shadows for Shitty Ass Game of the Year and then pay him more money to vote for Assassin's Creed Shadows to be Shitty Ass Game of the Year. That's what this is all. It's all part of the grift,
Right.
So that is the Real Game Awards in a nutshell. I'll only briefly go into the reception because we kind of covered this already. It had no impact online. It was hard for me to find stuff. Going back to what we talked about at the beginning, it was hard for me to find any evidence initially that this happened because the Real Game Awards social was quiet on this. They still haven't put a link to the video on the Real Game Awards homepage. So I almost feel like they're kind of letting this slowly die. Again, it only got 11,000 views on YouTube. It only got 7,100 views on Twitter. And a bunch of the comments are a lot more mixed.
Right.
I went through the comment section on the YouTube, and I went on the X profile for Craig for the Real Gamer. The one on Craig's, his personal one, are generally positive. But the Real Game Awards one, people are like, this was a scam.
Yeah.
This was a grift. This was pathetic.
Again, I go back to those pictures of DashCon where people are like, what did I pay for? This is bad. This is pretty bad.
Yeah.
He could have put out a kiddie pool with some, a ball pit made out of a kiddie pool with some of those plastic balls and...
At least give them something to do that was in person.
Somebody could juggle or something.
One would think. And so a number of them, they kind of break down to a couple categories. A bunch of people commented how cheap it looks and started questioning where the money is going because it's not on the screen, including people criticizing for having this AI slop intro. And other people talked about, what's the point of this award show if it's a quote-unquote alternative award show and you just gave it to Claire Obscura like everybody else did? The only difference between you and Jeff Keighley right now is Jeff Keighley's not charging me money to vote in that because there is a small percentage of voting that is to the general public, and they don't charge people for that. Some people laughed at the prospect of people paying money to see a series of pre-recorded videos of Dave & Buster's. So I thought we would read some of the comments about it to wrap things up.
All right.
Because I think this is probably the last we're going to hear of the Real Game Awards.
Hopefully.
I said I would do I wouldn't do the last time that I would do this one, and I did this one. I will not do this again just because it's not... If this is how far it's dropped off, it's not going to be any more interesting, and it's only going to be more for
What if next year it takes place in the back of, somebody's van?
It might be. There's actually a joke about this. Someone joked in one of the comments, I didn't put it on here, but it's like next year it's going to be in Craig's car.
Yeah.
The next one.
And you'll cover it next year.
Yeah, probably.
I will help you.
But yeah, so I think what's going to happen is that the only people who are left now are the Roops. The people who are paying for this are now the ones who are
the ride or dies. The ride or dies who are just I don't care how ridiculous this looks. I am committed to the bit,
Yeah, and they're clearly shaving off attention now. So I thought we would go through some of the comments between the YouTube and the Twitter. We'll start with the YouTube one. All right, have you read this one.
Whoever decided to pay $1,337 USD for this show deserved to lose that money and then some.
And in a related one, I've got this one. If you paid any money for this, I genuinely hope you're not in control of your finances in the near future. Let's see. I'm going to try to have another one that's fun for you. I like this one that I'm going to have you read.
Imagine paying $150 for the live event and just seeing this.
Yeah. Here's another one. Here's what we put together for $10. The rest of the money went towards paying off Craig's other failed projects.
That's entirely possible.
And here's I'm going to have you end on. This is what we'll wrap on. This was in response to the Real Game Awards post on March the 4th, 2026. It has a visual with it.
Gotcha.
So why don't we describe what the visual is first? I'm going to have you read the comment.
Oh, God. There are so many layers in which this is the saddest thing ever. I feel like someone voted in it, laughed to themselves, then painted the ceiling. Oh, gross.
And the image that is connected to that is the best community mod, which shows the Zero Suit Stellar Blade mod with the Natural Women of Oblivion next to it.
Yeah.
Which I think is a fitting epitaph for this. So that wraps up our look at this. So final thoughts.
Waste of time. Not this episode, that event. Total waste of time, obvious scam, pointless, and at this point, more than a little embarrassing. If they do it again next year, it will be surprising, but who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, what else can I say?
This doesn't strike me as a group of people who know shape.
Yes. And I would be genuinely surprised if they do this again. But I mean, there's the whole saying about a fool and his money are soon parted. They might continue to do some iteration of this for as long as people will pay them.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
And it may be, Stuttering Craig in his car doing this. I mean, he's already did pre-recorded videos in his studio.
Yeah.
As long as people are paying him to participate in a glorified poll, I think he'll keep doing it. But again, it reveals this sort of larger issue about these communities are built on outrage, and they're built on exploiting that outrage, and they're built on monetizing that outrage. And this is what we get from that. So yeah, don't do what I did and watch this.
But do go to Dave & Buster's at some point. Just go there to, like, have some good food, play some games, have a good time. Don't go for an event like this.
Yeah, go with friends. You know, you could have a nice time. You could have taken that $150 and have a very, very nice time at Dave & Buster's.
Go with friends. It's a lot of fun. Also, you could go solo and have a lot of fun. You know, they got some good stuff there. They got, you know, I think I mentioned Fruit Ninja. That's a good one. They're like one of the few places you can reliably play whack-a-mole and stuff like that. Like, it's a good time.
Yeah, collect some tickets. I got a tiny food processor the one time.
Yeah.
I was at Dave & Buster's.
I'm looking at a stuffed animal behind us that I got at Dave & Buster's on my birthday years and years ago.
Yeah, so you don't have a good time.
Good memories.
Not a sponsor.
No.
Not a sponsor.
But if you want to, Dave & Buster's.
So at least, hopefully, they had fun playing the games at Dave & Buster's and probably having really, really odious conversations in between.
Yeah. I imagine the Dave & Buster's staff just eyeballing all these people like, are they still here?
Woof.
Okay, oh, God.
Oh, man.
When can we ask them to leave? How long does this event go till?
Yeah, right. Well, it looks like they're wrapping up now. Let's check the progress video on that YouTube.
Yeah. They're watching the video out front on their own laptop.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think we've had a good time on this. So.
Sure. Well.
Yeah. And that will do it for today's episode of Scandalous Games. If you like what we're doing and want to help the show, subscribe or follow us wherever you get your podcast and leave us a rating. If you want to learn more, check out our website, scandalousgamespodcast.wordpress.com, where I publish the show notes and the sources for every episode. Our theme music is Occam Seek Me by Seek Knowledge via the Free Music Archive, used under a CC BY NC SA 3.0 US license. If you have a question, comment, or idea for topics for a future episode, email us at scandalousgamespodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Kevin Impellizeri.
I'm Kate.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Scandal. Subscribe to Fat Roll Gaming on YouTube and listen to So We Were Talking About Beast Wars wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, your poppers.